All right. I guess we should do a roll call.
Elborn here.
Good here. Cabrera here.
Gamelke here.
Mijares here.
Rutherford here.
And George Jones texted me this morning. He's in Texas on a business meeting, so he will not be here. All right, will you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Sure. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Did you get the? Are there any additions, deletions, or corrections to the agenda? No? So I did not get the minutes. We did not get we're in a transition stage from Tony taking on a lot of the work of printing everything and getting the minutes read. And we don't have that in place yet. And so Aaron and I are working with the city to find somebody who will be responsible every month to do the minutes and then get them to you. So that being said, the minutes are not done and from the last meeting. And so we do not have them. We will try to have them for next meeting. So please, and I'm finding that I lack the amount of time that it takes for to really make all this happen. So that's kind of my fault too. So I
John,
apologize. Ma'am?
right here. I have an update on that. This is Anita Regal and she will be attending and taking minutes from here on forward.
Okay,
I'm gonna take them today, but she'll be doing them in the future.
thank you.
Mhm.
All right. Well, that's good. See,
That'll work.
we're on to it. Consent agenda, what is that? Consent.
I don't think we have any current consent items.
I don't think we do. Any public comments? All right, we're moving right through this. Any unfinished business? See none? Tava update, please.
I think this guy used a lot yesterday. Hey, good morning, everyone. Okay, so Tava, there's a couple of things going on. There's the construction work that's been proceeding very slowly. We finished the east wall of the building. So what's up next is the elevator tower and the staircase. That's going to start construction next. And then the plan is to have base plumbing start in April. So we're moving along, just a little bit slower, but we are proceeding as planned. So we've got that going on, and then that's the on the ground work. In the background, there's a lot of work with the preliminary plat. We've had to revise it with the city of Woodland Park. It's going well. We'll submit that this week, and then it goes into planning commission probably in April, and then final plat approval by the city council in May. So we've got a couple of months to.
Just
Yes.
one clarification. So the original preliminary plat was approved and this is an amendment to that.
Correct. Sorry, that not revised, amended. Yes, correct. Thank you, David. So David and I have been engaging with the city a lot to work that out, get it sorted out, and it's going well. It's good. Then the other thing is the America's Mountain Festival. That's set, for July 5th. The grading work on that is in process and we'll just keep going. So you'll see some earthwork going on in that section of the of Woodland Station.
Last time we asked if there was any permitting done for that yet. Is there yet?
Yes.
Has anybody applied for the permits?
I'm not exactly in the loop on the AMF.
Okay.
I believe so. We've got the grading permit done. You're talking about the actual permit for the event.
For the event?
I believe that's been handled. David, do you know?
I know it's been submitted by Derek to the city, but I don't think they've completed all the meetings they have to do with law enforcement and those items yet.
Okay,
So the Chairman
John-
Melky.
John's
It's in motion. I just don't know the actual status of it though.
Okay. But we're planning on the event regardless.
It is moving forward. There's a website for it. There's handouts for it. There are tickets you can buy. It's moving full steam ahead.
All right. I figure I don't need to buy tickets. We have a great view on top of our building.
That's exactly right. You can just sit right up there.
Yeah. No, we're looking forward to it. I think it'll be really good. So,
Any
do you have any
questions?
questions?
Al, I can see. No? Okay.
No.
Right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Chairman, let me just say something. Just so you know, every day I walk around with this file of nothing but Tava matters. So I'm always available during the week to talk about anything that the individuals want to discuss or as the DDA board. Happy to visit with you about it.
Thank you.
Okay.
Did anybody get a chance? I thought that we had emailed everybody everything that we had on the micro grant program. Did anybody happen to get those emails? And if not, then we have it today. And we have Josh online with us to help walk us through it. Good morning, Josh. We're up
Good
next.
morning. Good morning, members of the board. Yeah, I sent out an email last week that circulated the agenda as well as a revised redline version of the grant program, the grant agreements. Everyone should have received it. Typically, whenever I do send out emails to everyone on the board will be blind copied. That's to help prevent reply all from occurring, which would then be a open meetings law correspondence. Really, as I said in my memo or board notice that was sent out with the packet, the documents that are provided are more informational. It's for you to be able to see what's part of the grant program that can go out to those who are interested in the program, providing them the application and some examples of what documents they'll need to use as part of the program. I'm happy to, help and answer questions that you may have on the documents. I did receive one question that I think is valuable for the board in general, because I don't think that we necessarily really, or the board discussed it. I'm basically paraphrasing. It was, are grant awards limited to one per person or entity, otherwise an owner, or per property or per project? I think this question is best approached by considering the purposes of the grant program. I think the grant program is intended to help stimulate the improvement and beautification of physical spaces, structures, buildings, exterior and interior, that are open to the public, that are within the DDA's boundaries. With that in mind, if there's a person or an entity that owns more than one property, it wouldn't make sense for them not to be able to have more than one grant, because they wouldn't, you wouldn't necessarily want to have just one of their properties being improved or, spruced up. When you take that step further and you think about, there might be an entity owner that owns a strip mall or a plaza that has multiple businesses. Each business owner would be able to get a grant to, use the grant funds for improving their own business structures. And so whenever you're looking at the different applications, that's one thing that you would want as a board to basically have a decision on or understanding of already, which is if you're looking at applications for, I'll just say company A, and company A has 2 properties in the DDA boundaries, as long as the application is for a project that benefits each individual property, and those grant funds would be used for each individual project itself, I wouldn't see a reason why the board wouldn't award 2 separate grants for 2 separate projects on the 2 separate properties. But that's something, again, that can be discussed between the board today or our next meeting. I just wanted to bring that question to attention since it did come up. At this time, I don't necessarily have a lot more to say independently, but I'm happy to, facilitate discussion or answer questions that you may have.
I have one question. On the application materials checklist. It says, part of it says contract proposals for the improvements or services, minimum of 2. I feel like that it's hard to even, well, there's a couple of things. That would stop a building owner from actually doing the work themselves, possibly. Because they would have to have 2 other proposals from people. So I don't want to take that away from a building owner that could do the improvements and wants to apply for the grant. I feel like that's too restricting. We're trying to take away a lot of, I don't want it to be like, as Jerry has pointed out, we don't want to restrict people out of it. And that to me could be something that could restrict people out of getting the work done in their buildings if they want to do the work themselves. And then the other thing is it's hard to get 1 proposal, let alone 2 proposals. It can be that can take a long time. And so I'd like to take that possibly off the list, or at least talk about not having that in there. Does anybody have a feeling on?
I want to jump in real quick, John, and just let y'all know, because y'all definitely need to talk about it. But the purpose behind that was to provide a rational basis for the amount of the grant that you would be providing, especially when it comes to time of service or cost of labor. As an individual, of course, any person can, paint their own building, take the receipts of the cost for the paint and the materials and provide it to you, showing, their costs they expended. But if they're going to want to recover the cost of their own time, having a proposal of 2 different people saying, here's how much it would cost as a professional for the labor cost itself, would provide the board with a basis saying, okay, it makes sense to, give them X amount of dollars for it. So there's nothing that's in there that's supposed to stop people from being able to do it themselves, but it's supposed to stop them from saying, well, it cost me $20,000 to paint this 1 wall. And you say, well, who painted it? Well, I did. How much were your paint costs? Oh, they were $150. Well, where's the rest of this coming from? Well, that's how much it cost in labor. So it's kind of supposed to be one of those things that are helping the board confirm that the amounts that are being put forward to you as recoverable are actually reasonable. However, I do agree that your concerns when it comes to getting proposals is completely valid. Y'all know your area better than I do, but now you know why that was in there.
No, and I figured that was it, but also, if I can, we also are approving the grants beforehand, correct? So we'll know. I mean, I think we all have a good sense of like what something's going to cost versus what it doesn't cost. I mean, that's just, if a person's, I mean, am I right? Or does anybody else have anything to say on this?
Well,
I just wanted to let you guys know, one of the other reasons it was included is to fall in line with our procurement policy that we have with the city. As a standalone committee, you guys do have the right to say, no, we don't want that in there. But that's one of the other reasons why it was included, especially when we come to our grant policy. We do usually have that in there when it comes to grants, but it's up to the discretion of this board.
So what if it takes, so I noticed that they have 120 days to complete the project. What if it takes 3 months to get 2 proposals? Now 90 days is gone.
Yeah.
And now you have to order your materials, which is 4 to 6 weeks. In a lot of places that I deal with, it's 4 to 6 weeks. So now
Definitely
so you're at your 120 days
Yeah,
already.
absolutely. Definitely in this area, that is something that we run into, being more rural, being less
Yeah.
opportunity for, more agencies to contact. you guys can absolutely choose to take that out. It was just included as a provision based upon what we generally do. But given your concerns and giving your valid reasons, I do agree that if that is something you want to remove, but as Josh said, I think it was just more so
Sure.
a baseline for you guys as well to just go, okay, I can see where these numbers are coming from, but you guys know, you're business owners, you know the cost of things in general.
Yes,
You know, and really, they only have 35 days. Because these cost estimates are required with the application, it's due April 15th.
yeah, I'm just, that's,
So I think the other thing we could look at is in lieu of estimates that we could just do it strictly off of a materials cost estimate. If we want to leave, you know, individual labor out of it.
well, no, a person needs to get paid for their time if they're doing the work. You're not, yeah, no, that's part of the.
I know, I don't get paid when I work on my house.
Well, I'm just saying as a that doesn't make, no, that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, I mean, I get it if they have to hire labor, those costs are valid, but I mean, it's a way to put a kind of a clean line that we don't have to worry about what they're billing their hourly rate at. Just a thought.
You could remove it or set an hourly rate,
Yeah. That's the other method.
you know, a reasonable market value hourly rate. Which I mean, you're going down rabbit holes at that point, and that
No.
could lead to other stuff.
I just think that the proposal should be submitted, it should be submitted with materials and labor.
Really,
as-
bottom line.
And some of it's gonna go over, I mean, I would say that some of it's gonna go over the $5,000 and they're just gonna get the 5,000. I mean, and I say some would probably be under. I think we're gonna be able to look at it and see if somebody's, if I can just say it, somebody's full of it or not.
Yeah.
You know?
I think bottom line is if we're, you know, we're here to improve the community and we need to trust the people that we serve. So I'm fine with getting rid of it.
Al, do you have anything to say?
The thought that I was reflecting on is if the project is $5,000 or less, to come up with two proposals, there's probably not enough margin in there to warrant anybody making much of a proposal. You know, I want to buy $2,000 or $3,000 worth of potted plants. Do we need two proposals on that? That's probably overkill. That we want to make this a project that will go quickly along the way. And I look at this too, that we got 23 pages of stuff governing it. That's pretty
It's pretty much, yeah, it's a lot.
onerous, you know, for small projects like this. Probably I could buy the property with less than 23 pages, let alone $5,000 worth of improvement. So have we really stepped beyond what we're really trying to do and causing something to happen promptly?
A lot of that is legalese that and
I
I've read it
know.
all and it's long. A lot of it just is to cover the butts of everybody involved.
But to have a
Doesn't really have a lot
notarized
to do with the
statement of
project.
23 pages or more,
I get it.
that could certainly cause this project to fail.
So do we want to limit it to provide an itemized cost estimate? Because we need the cost estimate.
Yeah, I'd say just leave it at that. Well, eliminate two, eliminate contractor and just have them provide an estimate. We'll look at it, just.
Estimate for
Crazy.
materials and labor.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is that anybody else? Gary?
I just want to acknowledge the line of the day. We could buy that property for less pages.
Yeah.
But the ability to do the improvements yourself, I think is huge. And I know it'll cost you double, sometimes 4 times what it would cost if you do it yourself. So let's make it as easy as possible. I think less restrictions. No, I agree that you should probably not include your labor as an expense. I think that's, you know, you run a business, that's what you do. You put your labor into it, so.
Just to remind the board, it's a reimbursement-based grant, so they do need to submit
Yes.
records.
Yeah.
So, hourly is very subjective. One person could feel their time is worth this and another this, and it could open up an issue later, if like, hey, that person got paid more than I did. So either stating a up to flat rate or eliminating business owner time would be probably the best option to avoid that.
So as a business owner, as you're penalized.
No, I think if you do a flat rate that the board agrees on, you guys know, as we mentioned, you guys know what these things cost. So if you say, hey, if we went to, contractor A, they would charge us X amount. As a business owner, I can save this much by doing it and coming up with a flat labor rate if you guys are going to, if the business owners are gonna do it themselves. That way, there's no subjectiveness when they submit those receipts. They can have basically a time card type thing that says X amount of hours at this rate that was previously agreed upon. So at the end of the day, if anything comes down audit wise, there's no
Sure.
concerns.
It's getting confusing again.
Yeah, I'm more of a proponent of limiting it to material costs, or if there's a component that needs a contractor or something like that, that's a hard bid that includes their labor that they would be expected to have. But I think, identifying and highlighting a rate, you're gonna get less value out of the projects if, they're putting half of it into their labor.
Sweat equity. I know if I'm doing a project on my place, I'm gonna spend all that money on materials and I have no problem devoting my time.
And I think that's the way most of us look at projects. Our labor's free. We're looking at what the cost of
Part of the
materials are.
I can tell you that my time is not free.
Oh, I know.
Time is not free. That's a misconception. There's value to time, unless you don't value your time at all. I'm just saying that's a whole nother thing, so I apologize. Anyway, Al?
Is there a way that we can reflect on what are the risks in having to have all this documentation? What are the risks to the program and to the DDA and the city on a $5,000 project? Now, if it's a $100,000 project, maybe it's a little bit different, but the scope of this project is relatively small. And the risks would be probably relatively small. So are we overkilling with all of this?
Valid question. Josh, are we overkilling?
Sorry, I'm not completely sure if we're talking about the 24 pages
Yes,
or
partially.
if we're,
That's a
or if
lot.
we're talking about the 2 proposals. I think that y'all were on track with coming to a decision on whether or not you're going to require 2 proposals, or if you're going to do reimbursements for individual business owners' time that they put in. I think that there's been plenty of valid comments when it comes to that. When it comes to the number of pages that are before you, I guess I would say the program itself is 5 pages, 6, but you see the exhibits is really a 6-page. The other documents are just actually split up between entities and individual owners. And they're really just there as informational. Not everyone's going to have to deal with all of those pages. So again, if Al's question is, should we limit the number of pages that are involved with? Really, the program is 5 pages, and then you have an application that's mostly just blanks. And also this program is $150,000, even though each grant is $5,000. So it's not necessarily just a small $5,000 project for the DDA board itself and the DDA boundaries. So keeping that in mind too. But bringing you back around to what was the original question, which is, are you going to require proposals? If not, it's a quick little edit. We can take those two proposal requirements out. And then the second part of that is, if an individual owner, business owner is the one who is doing the work, can they recover money for their time? I think it's a good idea to decide on those two questions.
Okay, so it's separate, correct.
Yeah,
So
and I think y'all were going down the right line of, you know, it's really hard to determine how much each person's time costs. On top of that, you know, if someone is doing something that's more of a specialized labor versus a less specialized labor, trying to say how much the difference is in cost for labor between those two types of projects would be also kind of difficult. So it might be best to say, you know, you don't get to recover the cost for your own time. If you want to use your time for something else and you want to pay someone else to come in, then give us their receipts and cost of labor. Something to keep in mind.
I thought that it was all supposed to be submitted up front. I didn't realize it was back-ended, that they're gonna turn in the receipts and then get reimbursed. I thought they were submitting a proposal up front and we approve it for that price. Not come back at the end and say,
Oh,
is that, am I understanding that?
correct. You're
It's
correct.
both. They're submitting their proposal up front, up
Yes.
to $5,000.
Right,
But say, hey, I think my, whatever, my flowers, my lumber, whatever it is, I think it's gonna cost me 4,500. Say it only costs 32. So that's why they're submitting receipts at the end. So in that documentation that Josh sent, it does indicate it is up to $5,000, but based upon actuals. So they get reimbursed what they actually spent. So we're not just giving them $5,000 and the project only cost them $2 million. We want to make sure that, you know, financially responsible, you guys are reimbursing for actual costs. So they can submit that up to $5,000, but at the end is when they actually receive the funds when they submit the receipts. It's not a $5,000 check up front. It's a reimbursement based grant after it has been approved up to $5,000.
And I think ideally, people are doing, you know, $10,000, $15,000 projects and only looking for the $5,000 reimbursement. So hopefully, you know, that's understood, that their cost estimates aren't limited to $5,000, but their grant award is limited to $5,000.
right.
And if that's the case, you know, maybe the labor isn't the larger portion of that, and it's easier if we get larger estimates to look at those as participation.
So let's tackle the first one first. Is everybody in favor of taking the contract proposals for the improvements or services minimum of 2? Are people in favor of removing that?
Yes,
Is that a general consensus of the board?
I think we change it to provide an itemized estimate of cost.
Those are the controlling documents, the paid receipts or the.
Right, that's already in there. I say we
Yeah,
just eliminate that.
That's
one.
good.
Is that,
Well, I think we need to understand the scope of the project initially, so I don't think we can completely eliminate that checkbox. I think we need to provide an itemized estimate of costs
it's in the application, isn't it?
with the application, yes.
well, let me jump in real quick. The application and the proposals at the beginning are supposed to be helping the board with determining whether or not the amount requested is reasonable for the grant that you would be awarding. But on the back end, and the purpose of that is also so that way you're not going through every single applicant and just saying, okay, you have an award up to 5,000. And then that stops you immediately at 30 applications because you've now hit your 150 max. versus someone providing you documentation showing that it's gonna be 3,000. And maybe you can go above 30 applicants or 30 applications because people, have only actually requested up to 3,000. Is that gonna occur? Probably not. I'm pretty sure every application will be pretty close to 5,000, if not more. But on the back end, whenever they're doing their final report, with their final report, they will be providing you the itemized receipts of the actual costs. And so if they've done an application for $6,000 and it turns out it only cost them 4,500, because we see that from the itemized receipts that they give you with the final report, then they'll get $4,500. And this is part of your fiduciary duty of using public funds. You have to you can't just say, sure, we'll give you $5,000 because you told us something costs $5,000. You actually have to have that proof. So it's to protect you, it's to protect the public's money and funds being used correctly.
Good. So where did we land? We are striking that.
Not striking the whole thing, we're changing that requirement to eliminate the requirement for two proposals, but I think it's part of what we need to review, an itemized estimate of costs.
So how is that written? Do you have an idea how that would be written then, Josh? How that would be changed?
So what I'm hearing is what you would like is for them to provide an itemized estimate of their costs. And I'm saying itemized as in materials and labor.
Yes,
That's what I'm hearing.
yes.
And if that's the direction from the board, I can make that as a quick edit.
Yeah.
I see a bunch of heads nodding up and down in a yes, Josh.
I see those too.
Did you have any other input on this?
No, I think that's,
Is that okay?
yeah,
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
thank you.
Does anybody else have any? Did anybody else see anything that they'd like to talk about in this?
No.
Pardon? Are we done with that, Josh? Is that all? So what's the next move on this? Will you present this? We don't vote this in today. Will you present something to us at the next meeting and then we approve it, or what's the next step with this?
Technically, y'all have already approved the program. The documents that are provided are just ancillary documents that y'all approved to be prepared to facilitate and implement the program. My understanding is that the city will be accepting applications, which is what's in the program. And so that's the next step, is the city starts accepting the applications.
And the city, what is the date that the city is gonna start accepting applications?
They can start submitting as soon as, has this been posted to the DDA website? Do you know? Josh?
No, it hasn't been, other than within the agenda packet.
Okay. So we'll need to get that posted separately, so it's easy to find. And then they have until April 18th to submit it to us.
Until April 18th?
Friday, April 18th at 5 p.m. But yeah, we'll start accepting them as soon as they want to submit them.
And who is best for us to work with to get it posted on the DDA's website?
So is the website the only,
Hold on, Josh, one sec.
I'm sorry,
No, go ahead.
is the website the only avenue to get the word out, or what are the?
We'll post this on socials as well. We'll have Kristen Higginbotham, our marketing gal, posted on all of our socials. And as far as the website, I don't believe that Kristen does the DDA website. I will have to find out who does. Who typically posts the agenda? Do you guys know?
Nicole?
Nicole does? Okay, so I will work with Nicole to get this posted to your website.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
Mhm.
Yeah. And will you do something too with the chamber? Thank you. And will you be putting something out too, Pat, maybe?
Mhm.
All right,
Yeah, we want to get it advertised for
yes,
sure.
please, yeah. Al?
A question. We do have a fairly short window in order to start and complete the project. There's going to be a certain amount of city review and permit granting. Is there a way that the city can help to expedite those permits and get them out quickly? So as not to lose a lot of that time
Some
in
of these,
bureaucracy.
and some won't need to be permitted as well.
True.
Yeah.
True.
I apologize. I do not know what everybody's profession is, but you were singing just like the rest of the contractors, sir. The goal in the planning department with any application is to turn it around as quickly as possible because we recognize we have very limited weather windows in which to get things done and need to help get the contractors and businesses moving forward as quickly as possible with their projects.
And is there a price, what triggers if one needs to pull? Is price for a permit or what the improvements,
It's the scope of the type of improvements proposed.
just the type?
Yeah.
Like if somebody wanted to replace a couple of windows, that doesn't trigger a permit, correct?
I am not sure since I'm not in the weeds
Yeah,
with
what
what
that does, no.
with what Pikes Peak Regional Building Department requires
Right.
on different occasions.
Yeah, they don't require that for that, so we are
It's
going
hard to
with,
tell since they've gone to such strict energy requirements, so
right,
we can check on that.
I think the scope of these projects would be
under the.
tough to trigger an entitlement permit through planning for the most part.
Let's-
Most likely, especially if it's all exterior cosmetic kind
Right.
of things. There may be the need for just our internal zoning development permit review. Since we do have some aesthetics standards in the zoning ordinance. And then if it's a historic designated structure or something that's potentially been inventoried and eligible, while it's not a requirement for something that's not designated historically, the Historic Preservation Committee does like to offer suggestions and guidance in order to help people stay true to the history of that building. They're very concerned with how limited the limited number of historic buildings we have here in Woodland Park and essentially how small our historic area in the downtown is. So they try to be very protective of that and supportive of maintaining that history for our community.
And I think, the hard part is, I think at application, since we have such a short time frame, there's no way any of those items could be accomplished, but as long as they're, submitted in discussion with staff at those, I think that makes it viable. And then through that 3-month period, they'll complete those actions.
And remember, they have until April 18th, but then we have that review time. And then they have until May 2nd to get us the completed application if they got it in by that initial and there's anything missing. So if we look at something and I can be in communication with Karen just to make sure, hey, is this gonna require a permit? We can ensure and be sure to let them know
Okay.
that
Okay,
during that time.
okay,
frame.
thank you.
So this is gonna require more than one meeting a month. If it's, did you say April 25th?
April 18th is the first initial, and then once staff reviews them, if we get back to them and say, hey, this is missing, we need this, they have until May 2nd. And then you guys were going to review them at your May 5th, I believe, meeting for the public. You were going to review them and approve, vote on them at that point.
So the city's taking on a lion's share of this.
Correct. We're going to review them for initial completeness, just to make sure that they hit everything they needed in the checklist, make sure it fits within, the DDA boundaries, and then we'll give them to you for final approval.
It's pretty nice of you guys.
Can you restate the dates? I've got the April 18th one in my.
Huh?
Absolutely.
you tried
May 2nd, yes, Friday, May 2nd is the final. And so between May 18th and May 1st, we'll be, ensuring we look over those. But we're gonna hopefully have those within just a few days
April 18th.
sorry. within just a few days after April 18th, we'll make sure that if there's anything needed, we're letting the business owners know so that they have time to make that May 2nd deadline.
Which is good, because then we'll meet, that'll probably be a long meeting the 6th, because we'll have all those applications.
We hope we have. a lot of applications.
And would you guys, if we find that they're complete and they're ready to go, would you like them, funneled to you as we get them, or as a ginormous packet here? This is everything that is complete and turned in on time. And we are going to timestamp them,
And
because
do
that
we-
was one of your,
And do we need like everybody to vote on each one, or can there just be, did we talk about this? Is there just a couple of people that could look at, 'em, or do we need to do it as a board?
you guys had said you wanted to do it as a board,
Okay.
everybody
Thank-
approving them all.
Okay. And it's just a unanimous decision, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Josh, does that sound right?
Correct, and it would be majority approval.
Okay.
And a lot of this information is on page 5 of the program itself, under section 6, which says to apply application procedures and deadlines. Just in case anyone didn't catch them when she was saying them, it does have in there. So whenever the applicants are looking at the program, they'll see that information there as well.
And where,
Just so you all are aware, I did draft it so that way it says that the board will review and decide complete applications no earlier than its regular meeting on Tuesday, May 6th. Which means that you won't make your decision on the applications until then. But if there is a need for you to have more time to consider applications or specific applications, the program's granted to give you all that flexibility.
and then where will one pick up an application? Will they have to download it themselves, or they can pick up a hard copy, or?
We'll have hard copies here at the front desk, or they can download it from the website.
Okay. So
It
when they go
will
the
need to
front-
be submitted electronically though, so that we can timestamp it.
So they need to scan them and send them.
Correct. Correct. And that is detailed in there, that's how to submit them.
Okay. Jerry, anything else? You okay with this? I know it seems a lot, but
Yeah,
the
no.
application is short. It's shortened. I mean, there is a lot of legalese, but the application is short itself.
Yeah, well, I think Al made some really good points, and that the oversight on this is gonna be tremendous, and I think we knew that coming in, but it sounds like you're streamlining it a little better, and I think the less cogs, the better chance of moving forward. So let's just keep it simple, but I do think it's important that we as a whole make the decisions rather than a couple.
Sure.
I want it all to be upfront, no doubt as to why somebody got something and somebody else didn't,
Sure.
so.
So are we done with this part of the morning? The grants, nobody else has any questions, and I'd say we thank Josh for his time, let him move forward on this, and then we'll see it at the next meeting.
Was there a second question that you guys were going to discuss past the contractor?
I thought it was the labor rate.
Okay,
Wasn't that over the second part of it?
I think there were 3 things: the contractor's estimate, the labor rate, and then just the concern with the complexity of the agreement. I
Okay.
think complexity of the agreement, we understand why that's there.
Think we have it all covered.
Yeah.
All right.
Sorry, just jump in. Actually, what was y'all's decision when it came to a business owner's ability to recover for their time?
I believe that we said that they would estimate their labor costs as well with their material costs when they submit the bid.
Okay, and so the itemized estimate materials and labor does include their own labor time.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you for the clarification, board.
Is that correct? That's what we,
Yeah, I still think that if you're a business owner your time is part of owning that business.
I would almost think we leave it at estimate of costs, and I would bet that most submittals we get for people doing their own individual work would not include a labor rate. That's the way I would think about it.
We're not gonna hold it against somebody that
We're not.
values their time,
We're not.
so. All right, I'm gonna call that part done. Is that okay?
Mhm.
Thank you, Josh. Do you have any questions about our decisions this morning, Josh?
No, Chair.
Okay, well, thank you very much for your time.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Any public comments regarding new business? Saw Mary walking. You got anything to say, Mary? Good morning. I don't know, thank you for being patient. So as a board chair report, I can find some faults in the lack of, the amount of time that I'm putting in for the DDA. I've found that I need to put more time in to make it a little bit more efficient from my end. So I apologize, and I will be working on that and taking the appropriate steps. I did hear, I got 2 phone calls that said there was a bunch of people at the, I'll just call it the Martini Hut, the other day. I do not know what happened, to that. I did talk to, and I don't know his name and I don't want to butcher it, but I did talk to the young man who owns the building. He said he was going to call us back and he did not. He does know, he has heard that that his building has come to how do I say it? He knows that people aren't happy with the way his building looks and that they'd like to see some improvements to it. He said that he is dedicated to improving the building. But so I don't know if that was why there were so many people there, because he was asking us if we knew some contractors that could come in and give him some bids. It's out of my scope, it's commercial. And so he was supposed to call us back, like I said, and he didn't, he got busy. I believe you talked to him too, didn't you, Jerry, since then?
Of the Martini Hut?
Yes.
Yeah, I've talked to him. And we're supposed to sit down and talk sometime about the situation, but yeah, I got through to him on the first call and he had no idea what was going on. So, he's had his circumstances, what everybody's, thought was the situation, pretty much is. He had a contractor skip away with $250,000 of his money. His father has passed away. And so he's trying to manage another restaurant with his mom and keep it all together. He indicated he had just got done paying a balloon payment on his loan. So he's got a whole lot of money tied up in this. So, I'd like to talk to him as an individual, just, and give him, my opinion, but not as official,
Right,
DDA person.
right.
I'm just, and if I can think of the way that would help this gentleman out, I'd like to, do it.
He
So-
was, when I talked to him too, and it wasn't it was as the DDA chair, but it was also offering help. We offered him access to the grant. We said you might want to take an opportunity to spruce up the outside while you get the inside taken care of. And he's open to different business ideas. He said, I'm not stuck on just a restaurant. He said, if we could turn it into offices or something like that. So he's open to some different ideas. I asked him about the sewer being an issue, and he said that they mitigated that themselves, that it's not an issue on the inside, that it wasn't as bad as what some people thought it might be. He said that they cleaned that up but I haven't seen the inside. I mean, so I don't really know but he seemed very friendly on the phone, and he does know that his building's on the radar to get some improvements done. Is that fair? I mean, so I'm hoping we can talk again in like any And I think he just adopted his nephew because one of his siblings just passed away. So he's quite busy. I get that.
John, I'm
Yes,
sorry,
ma'am.
I am not familiar with what the Martini Hut is. For the minutes, can you clarify?
It's the old Voss building.
Got you, thank you.
You're welcome. I don't know the address. It's the one that's
At the corner
looking in
front of the
this,
library.
it's right across from the Dinosaur Research Center, right there on the corner.
Thank you.
You're welcome. There, I didn't see anything negative. See?
Well, one time it was the Jerry's Junk. I remember when I first moved up here and, it's
Are you
been-
willing to open it back up
it's-
as a junk
it's-
store?
I got my own junk store. But it's been a multitude of things and it would sure be a shame to, I think Karen was alluding to history in the city. While this isn't a historic building, but it's part of Woodland Park. And everybody recognizes it. So I think we would be remiss if we didn't do everything we could to help this guy.
We want to help, but we also need help from him.
Yep, absolutely,
It's-
absolutely. I'm not saying,
It's been a couple of weeks since I've had that phone call with
Yeah.
him and he hasn't returned our call.
Yeah.
Again, so we just
Okay.
want to stay on it and I'm not attacking. I'm just saying, if you say you're gonna
Mhm.
call back, call back.
Yep.
Arden, do you have any? No?
No,
Okay.
here's some conversation.
I don't believe I have anything else. Jason, as you all know, we did have somebody apply for the open position on the DDA and he was not accepted by the city council. I do not know if he wants to run again or try again. And so we still have an open seat if somebody would like to apply. Again, thanks for your patience and I'll try to do a little bit better on getting this more organized. And I am done. Treasurer, do have a bill to approve, don't we?
So we got a bill from Macau, Cox and Caskin. For 625.24. You can find it in
The very back of your pack.
9B, the last part of your packet. It was signed by myself and Chair on 2/27. The total was for $7,077.25. The next 3.5 pages, 2.5 pages are an itemized list of what that total is made up of. If you want, you can go through. It has a number of appearances for the board meetings, has some guidelines, clarification, stuff like that.
This all has to do with the micro grants.
Yep.
So we knew it was gonna cost us, but I don't have the brain to do it.
And that's all I got.
And then do I need to submit this to you, the signed one, or did you already get it? For the bill for,
I don't know. I will find that out. I have not seen it personally, but that doesn't mean it hasn't been submitted.
okay,
So, do you guys know if maybe Aaron has received it or?
no, and Aaron's a jury duty.
Yes, he
today,
is.
so-
That's why I'm here.
I do not know, but I'll follow up on that so we can make sure that they get paid.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Eric. Does anybody have anything that they'd like to discuss? Board member report section?
Bourne has nothing additional.
I'm good.
And
I think maybe we should reach out to Jason again. About maybe reconsidering applying again.
I have, and I will. He and I are gonna get together again and talk about it.
I think he wasn't selected based on a lot of personal reasons, which was very unprofessional. The people that made the comments. It's pretty sad, that's where we're at. I think he would have been a great fit. I think we lost a good person on the board because of personal opinions. And I think those people in those positions need to really separate themselves personally and professionally. So I think we should, as board members, some of us reach out to him and ask them to reconsider. And I will myself as well.
Yes,
Could I ask a clarifying question?
yes, please.
So to be able to apply for the DDA board, it's in the DDA boundary. You need to have a property that you own.
No, you need to own a business or own a property.
Okay. So you can be you
And you have
don't
to
own
be within
property,
the
but you're a
boundaries.
tenant in a building.
What's that?
That would apply.
What's that?
Yes.
You are a tenant in a building and that's,
If you have a business in that building.
got it. Okay,
You can't just rent a space, a
Of course.
bedroom and say,
of course.
right,
Got it.
yes.
Thank you.
Are we done?
You know, we did the TIF agreements, DDA budget. Oh, we didn't, oh, shoot, we were gonna talk about one other thing. We were gonna talk about action minutes, doing action minutes, and Josh forgot to bring that up when we're taking minutes.
Oh, I'm still here.
Oh,
for the
okay.
report. Yeah,
Can we talk about that, please? Cause I apologize for not remembering that.
no, that's okay. Actually, I don't know if we actually talked about the TIF agreements and DDA budget. Marcus just wanted me to review with y'all what is on our task list for the board over the next year. Well, really probably more of a few months, but it's finishing up the review of the TIF agreements and the reports that go along with that. It's also connected to the DDA budget. So we noticed as we were reviewing through the documents of the board and the DDA that we weren't really seeing a formal process that the board follows for review and adoption of its budget for each year, which is part of the requirements of Colorado revised statutes. So that's one thing that we'll be looking at. And basically it's just creates a formal procedure that says, you know, a proposed budget is given to the board in July or August for you to review, discuss, make adjustments to. Then adjustments are made. We bring it back, you formally approve it. It's sent to city council for city council's review and ratification. And then it becomes the budget for the next year. And you typically have such a procedure in place that the whole board is reviewing the budget. So that way everything's on board. And we tend to try to catch anything that might be missing that the board members know about that you want to have appropriations for the next year. For action minutes, this goes basically to the city. There's
Josh?
a difference.
Josh,
Yes,
real quick, I can speak to the budget, and the budget director. And through the process of doing the budget for the city, the DDA budget is done at that time. And I can tell you it will not be ready in July or August. We do have the budget completed by October. But what we can do is forward that for review, probably September timeframe. For your September meeting so that before we present to the council in October, that can be reviewed by the board. Would that be sufficient?
you are completely correct. I didn't actually go through every step. So basically the idea would be to present a proposed budget to the DDA board in July or August. Adjustments are made to it in August, September for them to approve and send to you in September or early October. So that way you can include it into your budget. That can go to city council. So it's basically recognizing that it will take a meeting or two for the DDA to get its proposed budget approved. And this is Marcus's proposed timelines from what he's done with his other DDA boards and special districts that have to have other entities approve their budgets. So it should work with the city's timeline of not having their budget done until October.
Okay, thank you.
Makes sense? Okay. When it comes to minutes, this was something that Marcus said was an idea that the board could consider. Now that we have Anita, I don't know if it would be necessary. Anita assisting us with the city, helping the board with its minutes. There's a difference between comprehensive minutes and action minutes. Comprehensive minutes are typically what you see now, which is going to be, longer pages of summaries of what people say, who's all discussing. Action minutes are more limited to, here's the action that was brought up, agenda item, here's what was discussed very, very briefly, here's what the decision was of the board. We find a lot of our URAs, authorities, some districts move towards action minutes whenever their meetings are recorded, and those recordings are made public, so people can actually review them and see what was said specifically. It reduces the admin time, so that way you don't have someone who's spending lots of time trying to prepare minutes. But this is just one thing that Marcus said might be helpful with handling the DDA's minute. Action needs to be taken on that. If it's something you are interested in, we can work with the city to confirm it's something that, is allowed for the authority.
So I can tell you that what I'm doing right now is more action minutes, just kind of basically sentences and summaries of what you all have discussed and what the conclusion of that is, rather than full conversations, because I don't type that fast. And because the meetings are recorded. So
Right.
that is how I'm doing it. But as you guys move forward and with Anita on board, we can figure out what works best for you guys.
Well, I think that's why we brought it up, to see if we can adopt that. And the city's okay with that.
As far as I am aware, yes, but I will get clarification on that.
Because we have done the action minutes in the past, and it's long. They're long reports and it's a lot of work. I mean, the comprehensive, excuse me, is the way we've been doing it. Al, do you have I feel, because you're the one that reviews the minutes.
Yeah, I guess it sort of varies, we'll say year in, year out, as the board members change. Thought that I have on it, in today's market of electronic recording, that's probably the easiest to do. And should there be a litigation, that would give us the best background.
Mm-hmm.
So it would seem like to me that that would be the better facility to actually bring forward. Or actually have recordings and keep them.
And we do have recordings and they are kept.
Yep.
Yep. And then this meeting will be even on YouTube in a day or two.
Yeah.
So I mean, everything's out there. All the information is out there.
Yeah.
So that's why I think that the action minutes makes a lot of sense to me for time wise.
Sure.
Yeah.
And I agree, especially for my staff.
Yes,
here.
yes. Yeah. Yeah. So do we need to make a form? You said you'll get with Aaron? and-
Yeah, I'll just make sure that that's, okay, but I agree with having these posted and retained. I am good with that.
Okay.
I'll just make sure there's nothing higher up that says we can't do that.
Is that good with you, Josh?
Yes, sir. And I did ask Nicole if she could do a search to make sure that there isn't a policy that has been adopted in the past by city council that's controls how their authorities, commissions, or boards handle their meetings and take minutes. Nicole said she couldn't find anything. So if we just double check with Aaron, I think we would be good there. So that's all.
Anybody else have any comments on that discussion?
No. Move to adjourn.
We're done. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you,
Josh.
board. You'll have a great day.
You too.